When I see discussions about diversity in writing and media, they are usually about race and sexuality. Those two topics are so popular that the word diversity automatically connects with them in the minds of many people. And don't get me wrong, they are very important, of course. I just feel like we forget that when it comes to true diversity, other things should also be discussed. Class disparity, mental illnesses, neurological issues and other disabilities, even upbringing, life experiences and the way we live make us diverse. I'd say newly made shows, both animated and live action, are starting to include this kind of diversity. We all remember Wheelchair Gentleman and Deaf Mama from Bridgertons, Rebecca from Never Have I Ever, and Shrapta, Shoko, Ida and others. Of course, all of those directors could do much more, but still, I'd say it's a good start. But when it comes to literary work, well, situation's a bit different. Whether it's because writers assume they don't have to diversify their characters because every reader will imagine them differently either way, or they're simply scared of writing something foreign to them, it makes literary landscape rather lacking. At least from my observations, someone who reads almost exclusively fantasy. But there is one author who decided to raise the bar, using for that their debut novel, may I add, and today we're going to talk about it. I'm Oak, creative and a writer, and this is Broke Oak Studio. Have you ever experienced a joy so intense that you feel the excitement in your whole body? This is the way I feel about Fallen Gods by Hannah Kainer. So I guess you can say I'm a little biased, but if you also read these books, you probably agree that this series is amazing. Also, side note, Polish translation of the third book is not available yet, and I don't like to mix languages in my series on my bookshelf, so unfortunately I'm in the dark when it comes to ending. I'll make sure to read it as soon as possible, but in the meantime, please don't spoil it for me. So, why is this series amazing? Well, for once, the story is beautiful and interesting. Gods and different religions, even though made up, are portrayed in a very real human way. The way only someone interested in mythology and the social aspect of religion could write. Narration is very nice, and overall, from a technical standpoint, this series is amazing. But those are not the only reasons I love this so much. The characters are what made me love these books. We have a snarky buffed lesbian with some pretty scary life experiences, few scars, missing teeth and leg, child dealing with trauma of their own, a knight with PTSD and two other disabled characters, out of which one of them use mobility aids, mainly wheelchair, and the second one is deaf. This is, hands down, the biggest number of disabled and traumatized characters I've ever seen in a literary work. And all of them are more or less main characters. They're not just for the one scene, they're what drive the scenes. And sure, trauma and missing limbs are not anything new, especially in genres like sci-fi and fantasy. It's one of the most common ways of showing characters' difficult past, or hinting at their mental strength and ability to persevere. Of course, really often those characters are badly written, as even tropes I just mentioned can be executed quite poorly, and the fact that this poor execution is the most common one is also not so good. But unpacking that would require more serious discussion and a lot of preparation on my part, so let's skip over that for now. But if you're curious about the topic, you can check out Okurm's channel and his hundreds of lovely media analysis. But going back to the topic, there are literary characters with different disabilities, but I'd argue that most of those disabilities are used as an accessory or as a mean of characterization. Rarely do we read about characters that just are disabled. You know, those whose existence are not reduced to the one aspect of their person, but at the same time don't ignore the disabling part completely. And don't get me started on magic repairs all trope, which often makes me wonder why an author even made a disabled character in the first place. But Hannah Kainer's books? I love them. Big lady with the sword feel phantom pain in her limb, occasionally uses crutches and have hard time traversing by foot, especially when her prosthetic leg is damaged. Those are not one-time mentions, but something described multiple times during the story. We know she struggles with chronic pain and other issues, but that doesn't mean she will not do the thing she wants, pushing the story forward and being the badass she is. Two characters with mental issues, that is, a child trying to digest something horrible and a knight with PTSD, are also portrayed quite nicely. The pain of loss and child's mourning, as well as demons hunting the knight, are described in a realistic way. He has his triggers and often comes back to the painful memories, and you can feel that he doesn't do it voluntarily, at least not most of the time. Characters' issues are not just an accessory here, but at the same time they are not the only thing that there is to them. I don't want to spoil any parts of the story here, in case someone's watching this video would like to read this series in the future. So I will not describe any plot-related stuff, but trust me when I say, those characters do and say stuff that are very realistic, and you as a reader can feel both their struggles and their strengths. And I know doing research shouldn't be celebrated as something big and unusual, since it should be a norm, but I would still like to talk about, I think, not commonly known facts that the author made sure readers know when reading this story. Little things like character on a wheelchair standing up and using a cane to move around, sign language being used in every other scene when there is an in-universe need for that, deaf character being able to speak and lip read but usually choose not to. Even that mentioned earlier phantom pain. All those things that I don't think are commonly known or talked about in non-disabled spheres are there. A realistic touch serving the representation and diversity of the story. Oh, and did I mention non-verbal autistic kid? He's never called autistic, but reader can easily catch on if they have at least some knowledge about the topic. And even though he's a minor character, he's not a prop. His actions and behaviors are nicely described, making you root for him like for any other character in the Fallen Gods. All of them had a different upbringing, have different sexuality, and their looks and skin colors varies, hinting at ethnic diversity, though presented through the fantasy world-building lenses. They all have their issues, motivations, things that make their lives harder. They argue sometimes and don't agree with each other even more often, which I think is always a nice indicator of how diverse the cast of character is, as well as good writing in itself. So how to write diverse characters? Deliberately and with confidence. It can be scary and stress-inducing, especially if you really care about doing it properly. I should know, I'm working on the story like that right now. But I think we should still try and do that. More often and in bigger quantity. Yes, it may not be perfect. Yes, you will stumble sometimes. And some for sure will criticize you for it. But still. I think internet and the world outside, if I'm to be honest, have many problems that make us scared of trying. Black and white thinking, lack of empathy, judging after getting to know something or someone only on a surface level, assuming everyone knows what one knows. Those are probably just few of the whole list of problems. So I understand why some creators don't want to or are scared of trying to write and draw more diverse. Some of them are problematic people from the bad side of the political spectrum, yes, but I'm not talking about those people right now. I'm talking about writers, comic artists, OC owners, and everyone else who tells stories and maybe want to try diversify them, but are scared of doing something wrong. I want you to know that there is a difference between doing something wrong out of ignorance and because of an unfortunate hiccup. Just make sure to fix the mistake next time, or retroactively if you're able, and move on. It's better to stumble but keep moving forward than to stand still. But where to find information about things you don't know? You know I say internet, right? There are different organizations and informative sites, but personally I like to treat them only as the first step in my research. as I think lived experiences are far more reliable than just a dry list of symptoms. TikTok and YouTube are full of neurodivergent and disabled people educating about their issues, as well as people of various ethnicity talking about their culture and everyday life. Reddit has many subspaces for discussions on any topic you need info on. Facebook groups and even Instagram can offer some insight as well. Even your creative friends that are open about their issues and willing to talk about them can be a good starting point and source of knowledge, assuming you later go somewhere else. Just don't treat whole groups as monoliths and make sure to avoid tokenism, and you're going to be good. And if you're still unsure, I'd like to show you this Reddit post, as I think it's a good supplement to what I've just said. Link to it, as well as list of diverse creators making educating content, can be found in my reference doc, linked below. Hannah Kainer, the author of the Fallen Gods series, is, as far as we know, able-bodied white person from the UK. And if she can write such fantastic characters, you can do too. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to refresh bookstore sites, waiting for the Fave Breaker to drop. See you in my next video. Bye bye!